Hey educators, this is Jordan with the Innovative Schools podcast. This episode's going to be a little bit different, but don't worry, we're still going to give you some great things to use in your classroom. This episode is actually going to replay a session from our Innovative Schools Summit in New York. This past winter, we had a summit in New York where we had a bunch of different teachers and educators come, all these different sessions and things to learn. And we wanted to share this one session with you guys. This is our 50 and 50 panel, where we have several different experts in the field of education who are all giving strategies around this one topic. And that topic for this time was creating a positive learning environment. So this panel is going to give you 50 different strategies and ideas to create that positive learning environment in your classroom. You'll hear from Kevin, who's one of our hosts here on the podcast. I don't think you've heard from him yet, but we have an episode with him coming soon. You'll hear his voice along with our panelists. So grab a piece of paper, grab something to write with, or your phone or whatever, so you can jot down some of these ideas. I'm not going to take any more time, so come on, let's learn together.
But our hope is that when you leave here, you'll have 50 strategies to walk away with. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves real quick, and we'll get started.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joseph Diaz. I'm the owner of Mr. Math Education, and I work with schools and principals, teachers on improving learning outcomes in math.
My name is Blake Clark. I'm a superintendent and executive director of an independent school district in St. George, Utah.
I am Katie Trowbridge. I'm a retired teacher and CEO and president of Curiosity to Create, which is all about infusing classrooms with deeper thinking.
My name is, give her applause. My name is Dr. Marquita Blaze. I'm the creator and chief empowerment strategist at Powerful Teaching Strategies, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
And I am Edward DeShazer. I'm the executive director of a K-8 school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I was also, shout out to Milwaukee in the house. And I was also a kid that was kicked out and expelled from school. So full circle, now I lead a school.
All right, come on, one more hand for our presenter. So we're going to start here with Joseph, and he's going to kick it off for us. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
All right, guys, so my first strategy is show the kids the side of you that people like. Not that people love, but people like, right? Your mama's got to love you, your sister's got to love you. And oftentimes when we're dealing with like behaviors, I ask these teachers, hey, what makes people like you? And sometimes the answer is, I don't know. Ask your friends, why do you like me? Once you know that, show your kids that side of you. They'll appreciate it.
Culture changes when we invite everyone's voice to be heard. So this strategy is called the I wonder wall, where in every classroom, in every school, you have a place where students that are too nervous or maybe don't feel like they can share their voice at that time, have a place where they can go and ask their questions, knowing that the teacher will answer them either individually, or if they see a lot of repetitive I wonders, then they can reteach and talk with them in the whole entire group, ensuring that even though their hand maybe wasn't up, their voice is still impactful.
See, that's why I had multiple ones. Check. That's a good strategy. Okay, so I have a help wanted board, kind of similar, but a lot of students need help, and this can be done in your classroom or school-wide. So if you have a help wanted board where students can say, I need help in this or that area, maybe in math or in spelling or in, I don't know, even working on my basketball skills. Students can then look at that help wanted and find that student to kind of create a peer atmosphere of helping each other. So it can be done in your classroom where I need help with topic sentences, right? Or school-wide. And what a fun way to build that positive, helping each other out, getting to know people outside of your own classroom or better inside your own classroom.
All right, y'all are gonna notice a pattern with my strategies. Hopefully you'll pick up on it by the third one. But the first one is called thinking caps, and it's based on Bono's 6 thinking caps, where you give the students 6 different baseball caps. They are colored in 6 different colors, and you assign each cap a thinking perspective. And students are only to give feedback from that perspective whenever you're debriefing throughout your class period. This helps your students learn how to give and receive very specific feedback. It helps them to learn to look at the work that was done and not the person who did it, and it helps them to communicate their thoughts.
Mine is more geared towards your staff. They're called rainy day notes, and what you do is you hand out note cards to all of your staff members. Say you have 50 staff members, hand out 10 note cards each staff. In the teacher's lounge or in the office, you put manila folders with every staff member has their own folder. You ask the staff to write something positive or nice about one of their coworkers. You try to gear them to do it to someone that they don't spend a lot of time with. And then different times of the year, staff can take their folders home. You can do it twice a year. They take those folders home, and on those days where you get home from work and you're worn out and the kids did what kids do and you're just stressed out, you can open that folder up and pull out a card and just remind you that you're doing a great job, and you can see some of the things that you may not even realize that you're doing are great that other people in your building have noticed you're doing a great job of. So they're called rainy day notes.
All right. Model, not set high expectations for yourself before you do with students. We always talk about setting high expectations, but do you actually model these expectations? So before we blame kids for not studying, not doing their homework, are you doing that? Are you going home and studying your standards? Are you going home and trying to improve every day? So before you ask kids to do that, make sure that you're doing that as well.
Vertical learning on a non-permanent surface creates culture in your classroom, as well as even having this done for an assessment. As students who struggle, especially in the area of math, they think that everything is very concrete. They're either good at math or they're bad at math. This changes that whole entire paradigm when you're able to collaborate with completely randomized groups that are physically randomized, not like Class Dojo or anything randomizing, because kids still think that you had something to do on the back end of that. But physically randomized so they know that they're paired in a random way with different types of learners where it's completely erasable, their thoughts. So nothing is permanent, but you can see the learning progression.
Going off of your collaboration, I'm going to go to having table tasks. So when students come in, I have little boxes of table tasks. It can be puzzles, it can be games, it can be Post-it notes, it can be Play-Doh, but where students come in and instead of them immediately going to their cell phones or sitting quietly, they actually have something they can work on. Even when there's dead time, which happens in our classrooms, they can go into that box and do something collaborative, and they can work together and have fun and play. I don't care if it's Old Maid, I don't care if it's just something, go fish, something that's there readily available for them to have fun and play and collaborate together.
I wrote that down for me. My next one is SWOT analysis, SWOT, SWOT analysis. This is a corporate strategy used to measure outcomes and to think about how you can move forward and improve. But I found this to be helpful with my students, first with their grades. Every 3 weeks we would do a printout and I would have them conduct a SWOT analysis so they could list their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. With respect to the grades that they were earning. Later, we progressed that into a group discussion technique. So following any type of large group activity, the students would conduct a SWOT analysis so that they could figure out what did we do well, what did we not do well, what opportunities did we not capitalize, or what resources did we not maximize, and then threats, what outside factors impacted our ability in this process, so that they can, next time they're faced with a similar task, they would already know some of the things to avoid so that they could have a better outcome.
My next one is going to be a happy hour cart. So it's kind of corporate, but it's not very corporate. But a happy hour cart is a cart that you can take around the school to your teachers, energy drinks, water, snacks. Do it once a month where you can bring it, by the classroom, admin can cover the classroom, teachers can come out, take a quick break. I'm just a firm believer that a positive school culture starts at the top, and it starts with if your teachers are happy, more than likely your kids are happy. So you'll notice a lot of my things are teacher gear because it being in leadership, but a happy hour card is something that works wonders. It gives them a break, play some music, the kids get excited even though they don't get anything, and it's just a great way to build positive culture.
All right, for admin and teachers, don't make everything a non-negotiable. Everything cannot be important. And when everything is important, the teachers and the students will decide what their non-negotiables are, and you usually don't want that. So limit what you're expecting out of your teachers and out of your students and inspect only that.
Student masterclass. As they're going around on these vertical boards and you're able to really gauge their proficiency, as soon as you see a group of students or even one student that you feel like has mastered that concept or the standard that you're currently working on, stop the class and say, hey, we're going to take a master class on fractions right now, a master class on main idea and key details, and focus your attention on those students. So everyone puts down their marker or pen, whatever they're working with. And this creates a space where you're not the teacher, you're not hiding all the information and they're receiving the information, but everyone in the classroom has genius, and how are we going to pull that out?
My next one is the shadow leader. So choose one student in your class secretively and have them, their mission in the week is to be that secret leader who is uplifting other students, making sure they have the compliments, kind of modeling the risk-taking. So it's not always you, but that student is kind of the secret leader. And at the end of the week, the mission is to guess who was that secret leader of the week. So that it's kind of fun, it's kind of a mystery, it's kind of a game, but that leader has a chance to be a leader without having to be in front and center, but can take a step back and quietly uplift the class and bring the class together. So it's called the secret leader.
Okay, next is defend or destroy. Are y'all on to the pattern yet? We're going to give students 2 claims that could potentially be true. We're also going to give them one piece of evidence, whether that's a text, data, video, documentary, whatever. And the students will choose which claim they are going to defend. They have to use their evidence to defend that claim, and then they will use the very same evidence to destroy the other claim. So we're helping them learn to analyze information, to see both sides of a situation, which is a skill that can benefit them outside of the classroom, and again, just build that academic discourse.
My next one is a kindness chain for those football fans. When defense make a big play, they get this big, like, oversized chain they get to wear on the sidelines. You can get a chain with your, like, school logo created. You can get them on Etsy for like $35. But when you see you have a kindness chain, it can be for a classroom, it can be for an entire school. When you see kids do something that is kind or nice, you can present them with a chain. They get to wear it, whether it's for the hour, for the day. But it shows and acknowledges them for doing things and knowing that people are watching, even when you don't know that they're watching.
Partner assessments. We often do partner work, but how often do we partner kids up on an assessment? And I love doing that because what happens when you have students having discussions for a common goal, you're going to increase your dialogue. You're going to increase questioning, student self-questioning. I have found a lot of success when we partner assess more often than just collaborative work.
Creating data stories instead of grades. I want you to think about that for a minute. Remember the first time that you got maybe a C, a D, in my case, an F in math, and how that was the opposite of empowering. When we create data stories instead of these finite grades, students are able to explain themselves and how they've seen growth towards that standard or growth towards that specific thing that you want them to learn. They're able to explain the data story to you, explain the data story to their parents, but also it's time that we start learning that assessment doesn't have to just be paper pencil. and offering to the student, do you want to communicate this with me as part of your data story, and I'll take that down as proficient. Any way you can demonstrate your learning, I'm going to take that down and put it in your data story, so that when we send out grades, if your school does the traditional based or standards based, whatever that is, there's a story backing that up, and that story is empowering instead of finite.
You know, so many of our students are afraid to ask for help. They're afraid of judgment. They're just afraid to fail. So one of the techniques that I've used before that's really helped is having color-coded. And it's, if you've ever been to some of the restaurants where, you know, you flip it over and, oh, stop and help me, go. I've used the just Post-it notes or something like that where a student can quietly put on there, I need help, or I'm doing fine. And what's fun about that with building community is that your neighbor can look over and say, do you need help with something? And then you're encouraging them to help each other before you can step in. And so it can be very simple. So it's not the, ooh, 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 I need help, and you're all of a sudden, all the eyes are on you. A student can just quietly put either a yellow or a red or a green or whatever color you want, index card, something like that, on their desk. You know they need help, their neighbors know they need help, but they're not drawing attention to themselves, and it's building a nice community within your classroom.
I want to add on to the data stories and suggest student-led conferences. Rather than your parent-teacher conferences, hosting student-led conferences allows students to communicate their own progress. So they have to keep those artifacts. They have to track their data. They have to, in my case, do a SWOT analysis so that they can analyze where they went wrong and where those numbers took a dip, and also look at how they were able to come back up. And they invite their person, maybe not their family, but some concerned adult, to come in and listen to them give a full analysis of what they did in each of their courses and how they ended up with the outcomes that they did.
My next one is a 2x10 method. I know people are probably familiar with it with your students, where if you spend 2 minutes for 10 days just getting to know and connecting with your students, and very informally, it doesn't have to be sitting at your desk. It could be walking down the hallway, it could be at lunch, but where it's more out of the box is encouraging school leaders to do that with their staff. I think that's the biggest gap that I see in a lot of schools. We spend a lot of time getting to know our students, but do the staff in the building know each other? So finding ways to be able to get your staff intentionally connecting and learning that we're more than just people that wake up and show up to a school. Like, we have lives, we like sports, we like movies. Really getting your staff to do a 2x10, 2 minutes, informal, 10 days straight. Strong relationships can be built very simple with that strategy in a school.
All right, admin. Make leadership decisions based off your best teachers, not your worst ones. Oftentimes, we're making leadership decisions based off our bottom 20%. You should always make decisions off your top. They're the ones that you want to keep happy. They're the ones that you have to protect, especially in this state. So make decisions off your best.
Defronting the classroom creates more of a collaborative culture instead of a basic teaching sit and get model. So going back to my previous one, when you walk into this room, you know where you're going to face and you know who's going to be speaking. And sadly, it's not you, because you have as much genius as we do. But your classrooms are set up like that. So how can we set up the classroom in a collaborative way that defronts the class, and that the teacher isn't leashed to their Promethean or their whiteboard? They're wandering around facilitating these brilliant discussions and leading them towards proficiency.
One of the things that we need to do is start increasing our students to be more curious and to think in deeper and more critical ways. So just a fun way to bring your students together is to have a mystery box. And what you put in that mystery box, there's a couple things. You can have students choose something, like that student of the week. But what is also really fun is to have something that pertains to your content area. Put something in there, and then throughout the week, students ask questions. What do you think could be in this box? And you give them clues. And you get them to be curious about what's in the box. And you tell them, well, maybe if you're studying World War II, or if you're studying a short story, or you're studying something in math or science, you give them clues. Again, having them work together to discover and have a mystery of what's in that. Building community, building curiosity, getting them to think, and then at the end of the week. Here's what's actually in here, and here's how. What do you think? How does this pertain to what we've been learning all week long? Again, building that community, building them to get thinking, and just having some fun and communicating and collaborating together.
So I wasn't going to even say this one, but I have to now when, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name right now, but he mentioned don't make decisions based on your lowest performing teachers, make them based on your highest performing teachers. And it made me think about raising the rigor and relevance in our classes so that we teach to the top and not to the bottom. We can always scaffold for those who are not at the top yet, but we do a huge disservice to our students who are at the top, but we make all of our instructional decisions based on those who are at the bottom. So we do this by providing more open-ended activities where students have more opportunities to be right than having just one right answer, where a lot of students then have an opportunity to be wrong and then discouraged from further participation.
So my next one is classroom jobs with leadership roles that are actually relevant to the students, not just like line leader or floor sweeper. Some of the ones I have written down are creative director, tech manager, study consultant, because this is preparing kids for jobs that are relevant to them in the world. Like one of the ones, a study consultant, is nice because you can take those kids that are doing a great job. The best way for kids to learn is by teaching. So they can work with those kids that are struggling, because we all know that we're shorthanded in school. So now you're leveraging your kids, but you're teaching them leadership, teaching them responsibility, while also building community within your classroom all at the same time through relevancy.
All right, so I'm going to piggyback off that one. So oftentimes, and I go to a lot of different schools, and I see different classroom setups. And one of my favorite is groups of 3. And I always put a higher student in the middle of 2 other students. And that could be higher behavior, that could be higher English language speaking, it could be higher academic. And I'm driving what Ed just said, where those kids that are in the highest in the middle, they're mini yous, right? You might be able to beat me, but you can't beat 8 of me. Right, if I have 8 teachers in the room, it's very, very effective. It creates a very good environment when students are collaborating. They always have that support every single minute of the day. So it might not be academic, but it might just be behavior. I do that as well.
In terms of academics, I'm going to go back to randomized groups. I don't mean to disagree. It's okay. Randomized groups that students can see can happen on emojis that you have printed out that pair the 2 sadnesses with each other. They can happen on playing cards. Or guys, keep teachers pay teachers in business and get stuff from there for this one. But really being able to see, okay, when they come in from lunch and they're walking in, you're handing a random card or a picture or something to them that then is going to go to a vertical learning space. It randomizes it, because sometimes when it comes to instruction, I was never the high-level learner, but I could see them constantly getting frustrated with me as a low-level learner that I wasn't understanding. To really create this culture and community in your classroom, students are now able to meet all various types of learners, and when you talk to the students, they're able to say, now I understand how their brain works different than mine, creates a culture of trust in your classroom.
And I'm going to just build off of that for a second, because I think one of the things that we need to facilitate and use as a strategy is called productive struggle. And I was just talking about that. If you've ever put together an IKEA piece of furniture, then you know what productive struggle is. And we have to encourage our students to do productive struggle. And one of the things that I talk about in my classroom is the strategy 3 before me. So before you come to me to ask me for the solution, go to your peers. Right? So they immediately, it's the please write a paragraph, and immediately they say, I wrote a sentence. Is this right? And instead of that, try, struggle, and ask people around you. Build that community so that you can know that there's other people in class that you can go to, and then come to me. So 3 before me. Did you try 3 other strategies before you came to me and asked me for help? And if not, who can you go to? Where can you go? Do that productive struggle first, then come to me. 3 before me.
Okay, my favorite mistake my favorite mistake. When you're introducing a new concept to your students, you may give them some practice, and instead of asking who got this right, if you pass the papers back, ask for who all did some struggle, who all got this wrong, or who struggled with this one, who needs help with this one, and then you pick your favorite mistake to highlight and walk through it with the class. You'll call on different students as you go through each step, if it's a stepwise type of problem, and have them talk out loud their thinking. Why did you put this here? Tell me the exact reason, and it's going to help you identify the misconception that led them to making that mistake in the first place.
My next one is a classroom soundtrack. So I know when Ron Clark was talking about during the keynote, playing the music before and after class, it get kids moving with a sense of urgency, but allowing your kids to pick the song that they get to walk into class on every single day, obviously appropriate songs, but you can pick a song that they can walk in with, and also a song that can be played during study time. I'm one of those people that when we're studying, I like to have music playing. It helps me. Then the cool part, if you do one every month, at the end of the year, your classroom will have about an 18 song soundtrack that you could, I almost said put on a CD. But what do you, put it on Apple Music? You know, put it on something digital, on a playlist. There we go. I'm not that old. Put on a playlist to give to your kids as something to remember the classroom by at the end of the year.
All right, admin. Spending 2 minutes in 10 classrooms is way more impactful than 30 minutes in one. You guys have done a lot of observations. What you see the first 5 is what you see the last 20. Be mobile, right? And we always talk about moving around, but you can know more about your school going to 10 rooms 2 minutes apiece than one room. One, you'll be seen, right? You know that, which is always good. Behavior, it's good for the teachers to see you. But second, you're gonna get a quick pulse check on your campus. So keep in mind, you don't have to sit there for 30 minutes and do those long observations. Pop around, you'll learn a lot.
I don't think Anita Archer's here because I'm going to flip her whole research with current research of flipping the I do, we do, you do model. When we flip that research and students are able to walk in and every class is as engaging as science, even in a different content, students are grappling hypothesis and tasks and how are we going to solve this together collaboratively while the teacher is wandering around and putting it now in a we do, where the teacher may circle things that, yeah, this is leading down the right path, keep doing this, keep asking questions like this. And then at the very end of the lesson, the teacher pulls back the whole entire class and says, this is exactly what I saw today. You guys are crushing it. I'm going to spend 3 minutes to clarify one thing before your task tomorrow that you're going to need to have before you grapple that.
I'm just going to tell you that I use that strategy, and it is dynamite. So, yeah, exclamation point on that one. I just want to know why recess is just for the littles. I have done, right? Okay. I have done, even with my high school students, a 1-minute recess, where it's when you can tell that the kids are just, they're not there, they're not having it. And I know sometimes we call them brain breaks, but even that, the kids are like, no, my brain is broken, so I don't need a brain break. I just do a 1-minute recess, and it is do whatever you want for 1 minute, no cell phones. And it's fun to just see them do something silly and crazy for 1 minute with each other, watching each other, because it's not fair that the little ones just get the recess. Why don't we? So 1 minute recess, ready, set, go, and we just have a blast doing it, and it builds a lot of fun community just for the heck of it.
Hey, everybody, we're going to take a quick pause or recess for a short little break, but we'll get you back to that 50 and 50 in just a minute. Responsibility-centered discipline empowers students to own their behavior and academic success, creating a positive school culture. Responsibility-centered discipline challenges old classroom management, reward and punishment programs, and consequences that rarely result in sustainable behavioral change. Schools across the country that have implemented RCD have seen fewer referrals, fewer suspensions, and a better school climate overall. Ready to make a real change? Visit GiveEm5, that's GIVEMFIVE.com, to learn how to transform your school or district with responsibility-centered discipline.
Join us at the Innovative School Summit, the nation's top K-12 education conference. Connect with internationally recognized thought leaders, educators, and consultants as we dive into game-changing teaching strategies and research-based methods. Each summit features multiple conferences, all in one location, covering topics like at-risk students, innovative teaching strategies, school discipline, and more. Create your own learning experience by choosing sessions from any of the conferences. With events in cities like New York, Orlando, Las Vegas, Nashville, and San Antonio, there's always a summit near you. There are 2 upcoming summits, and we want you there. One in Las Vegas from July 7th through 11th, and one in Nashville from July 14th through 18th. Go to innovativeschoolsummit.com to register. We'll see you there.
Are you facing challenges at work, in your personal life, or with your relationships? The Self-Regulation Skill Set for Educators by Brad Chapin is a powerful resource designed to help you overcome obstacles and build resilience. Whether you're navigating classroom stress, balancing family life, or even dealing with situations in any part of your life, this book provides practical tools and strategies that can help you manage stress, improve emotional regulation, and find a path forward. The skills outlined in this book have already helped countless educators and individuals reduce stress and boost their ability to handle life's challenges. Ready to make a change? Visit youthlight.com and get your copy of the Self-Regulation Skill Set for Educators today.
All right, now that we're back from the break, we're going to get you back into that panel from the New York Innovative Schools Summit.
Reverse engineer. Reverse engineer. Give students a solution and have them work backwards, think backwards, ask questions, research, collaborate to try to figure out what the initial problem could have been.
My next one is a staff swap day, where you can have teachers swap into different classrooms, starting low level, doing it for a class period throughout the building. But there's a school that I've seen in Utah that they do a whole presentation where they do a big draft. All the kids are in an auditorium, and every teacher pulls which teacher's class are going to go in for the whole classroom, and the kids enjoy it. They get a new face in front of them. The teachers get some new faces in front of them, and it also gives teachers an opportunity to see what else is going on in the building and spend time. Sometimes we get in this mundane of it's the same thing over and over, where it's a nice break for everyone to be able to experience something new, get around some new faces, and then see some of the other great things that are going on in your school building.
All right, this might not be a strategy, but more of a mindset. It's very lonely at the top. If you've ever been a very high-performing person, it's very lonely. You're different than most people, okay? It's so easy to, vent and complain about your students, the parents, the admin, and that doesn't do anything. It doesn't fix anything. So being a model of excellence all the time, that creates a positive learning environment, right? And that's lonely. I mean, you're usually going to be a lone wolf in that until you get others to follow suit.
My next one is student-led proficiency trackers. And you're going to see that I have a bias towards traditional base grading, that it doesn't work and it doesn't empower anybody. But when students can see, based on the standard, where they're at in their learning trajectory of developing, approaching, proficient, and extending, they are more likely to come the next day wanting to learn because they see it more as a video game where they're going to the next level instead of as a grade that's defining who they are. At least that's what they're thinking. So really being able to break down the standard of focus or the essential standard that you're working on into those 4 categories: developing, approaching, proficient, and extending. And after every lesson, students are able to rate themselves as they're getting closer to getting the flagpole on Mario or overcoming something, and that's going to be a huge part in their student-led conferences that she talked about, but also part of their data story of where did you start and where are you at now.
So many of our students just don't believe that they are creative. They just don't think they can. They're afraid to take risks. And simply, there's a bunch of studies out there that simply say, by you giving them permission, by you saying, be creative, take a risk, can increase by 2% their ability to do better on those testings, by them to do better on standardized testing, for them to do better on what you would like them to do. So just simply a simple strategy, 2 words, be creative. Just try it, and you will see your students excel because you have now given them permission and you have now showed them that you believe in the fact that they can be creative. Just try it. Say, be creative.
This will kind of piggyback off of the last 2, but it's called a cash in. This is where you give the students an open-ended formative assessment, allow them to show you what they know in whatever fashion they choose, and you give them substantive feedback. So I do suggest to only do this when you can give the feedback in a timely manner that they have time to actually address it and do something about it. But the students have to address the feedback. They have to address your comments. They have to come back with corrections, new thoughts, new questions, and then they cash that in for the actual grade.
Champion classrooms. You can do these once a quarter, once a semester, once a year. You have all the staff vote on their champion classroom for the year. And you can have, actually, I'm a WWE kid, so you can have wrestling belts made with your school logo. They're like $130, and then you play We Are the Champion. You present the belts to those teachers in their entire classroom. The kids get excited because they're excited that the teachers won, or if you just want to do a trophy. But I was a wrestling kid, so having the teachers have a belt that they can put somewhere, take home, they can wear it for the day, and they get to keep them. But it's a great way for staff to be able to acknowledge other staff, so it's not an admin vote where many times favorites get seen or the only people you spend time with. This is voted on by the entire school, so champion classrooms.
All right, so y'all know I'm a fan of my groups of 3 that I brought up. I'm anti-4. Kids can't read backwards, by the way. Just kind of think about that. So with my groups of 3, I will spend time with those kids during lunch, extra time after school, and we'll have master classes where we are training them. How do you talk to a kid who's defiant? How do you work with a kid who doesn't like you? How do you get a kid who's lazy to work? The upcoming content, how do you get ahead of that so you know the misconceptions? That type of leadership skills that I'm putting into those kids, I've had kids 8 years down the road remember being the middle kid. And that's really impactful. I mean, I think it's really important to see how life-changing that can be when you trust a child enough to lead that.
My next one is morning meetings using CICO, C-I-C-O, which is check in and check out. Carve out a time at the very beginning of your period, if you're in secondary, the very beginning of when your class starts, if you're in elementary, to have everyone sit together. I've seen it done in circles. I've seen it done on a rug. I've seen our 7th graders at my school sit on a rug. And they really come together and say, what are the goals that we have for today based on our actions of yesterday, which is the check-in part. We create goals together, and we're going to say, okay, before I release you today, we're going to check out with each other as well. It creates this accountability, and there's nothing like managing behaviors that's easier than when a peer is the one that calls out behaviors. And a peer says to them, yesterday we talked a lot during math. We have a goal today to remain focused in our groups or focus on listening to Mr. Clark, whatever it is. That has much more impact than the teacher constantly just reviewing the expectation.
Start your day by asking your students, what do they think? Instead of you jumping right into, here's what we did last night for homework, or here's what I think, or here's what the story is about, take the time to ask them what they think and then stop talking and just listen. It's amazing when you allow them to get their little minds going, get them thinking, get them talking, and don't interrupt, which is hard because they might have this way off the point answer, but just go, okay, and just let them keep going, and asking them what do they think first before you jump in is a key to get them to start thinking and being creative and critical thinkers.
Faculty-led PD. There should be opportunities for teachers in the building to show what they do really well, because often it's not seen in the annual observations. So as you are observing throughout the building, and then I also recommend peer observations where we give students and give teachers an opportunity to rotate to each other's classrooms and just see what is going on. But once you have highlighted those things that teachers are doing really well, give them 20, 30 minutes in a faculty meeting to model that for everyone else, to provide them with the resources and templates they need to repeat that strategy in their own classrooms. It gives us a chance to just highlight the strengths that exist in the building, and it gives teachers an opportunity to feel like they are positively contributing even when it's not being seen.
Yeah, and I can jump on the back of that, where you are doing walkthroughs with your admin and bringing teachers throughout the building. A great thing that's do is super simple. Have a stack of Post-it notes, and as you're in a classroom and you have the other staff member with you, they get to write down something really good that they saw and just stick it on the teacher's desk. So you're not disrupting the class. And then when the teacher's done teaching, they walk over and they see the note on their desk, and it was given to them by their peer. I think peer-to-peer feedback is one of the things schools miss most often, and it's also why you have to bring other people in to do PD, because you don't understand how dynamic the talent you have in your building already is. So allowing the peers to be able to give them a quick sticky note on their desk, just saying, hey, it was awesome when you did this, or you did this was great, and then teacher can see the feedback from one of their peers, which I think is important.
All right, this seems pretty simple, but reward and praise heavily. The kids only really work for you anyway. You don't work for free. Why should they? Sometimes we expect them to just have all this intrinsic motivation. Most of us don't have a lot of intrinsic motivation, right? I mean, if they said they're not going to pay you anymore, would you still show up? So just remember that they're kids, and before you can get intrinsic motivation, oftentimes there needs to be a little extrinsic to get it going. Reward them, and they'll love you for it.
Stay in the game conversations. And this is pertinent to behavior. Sometimes we get caught up, and I've seen many schools get caught up of, this incident happens, I'm immediately going to send them to the principal's office. And when teachers do that, they lose a whole lot of their power. So we will agree there are a few things that you should do that. But sometimes these stay in the game conversations can happen one-on-one, in the back of your classroom, in the hallway really quickly, when you're really seeking to understand what was the purpose of that behavior, where it comes to throwing something, hitting somebody, language, whatever it is. These stay in the game conversations helps you create a relationship with that specific student, but your class also gets to see the culture that you've created in your room, that you're not immediately just going to leave the room. We're going to be able to talk through this and stay in the game together.
Yeah, that's a good one. My next one I was going to say is to take time to find out what they like to do. And it's interesting because I think so many of us jump in on a Monday morning or end up quickly on the end of a Friday afternoon with, oh, and I forgot, you need to do this, this, and this. But we need to pause and say, how was your weekend? What did you do? Because there's a couple of things. One, we need to build that community. We need to see what our students like to do. What are they interested in? What is it that they did? Did they go see that latest Marvel movie? How was it? Because especially if we're not going to go see it, we need to see how we can then learn for us, what is it that they're doing and they're interested in, so that we can work it into some of our curriculum and so that we can relate to them. Going back even to the playlist, so that we know we can work in the music, the references, and we can stay relevant as well. Because one of the best things we can do is find out how do they like to learn, so that we can then relate to them and bring that relevancy into our classroom and make it a place that is positive and learning, and that they're not looking at us like we looked at our teachers, like what are they, 85 years old now? When we were related, they probably were 50, but we thought they were 85. We need to stay relevant by asking, how was your weekend? What did you do? We care about them. We don't just care about our content.
3x3 vocabulary. You're going to create a 3x3 matrix, and inside of that matrix, you are going to put words that are closely related and some that are loosely related. You want to write them in randomly. The students are required to choose any 3 words that are touching vertically, diagonally, or horizontally, and they have to tell the relationship between those terms. If they don't see a direct relationship, then they have to explain why there is no direct relationship, and they absolutely are not required to give definitions. They can only show relationships and connections. This will get you more valuable information than giving them a vocabulary quiz where they can easily just guess the right answer and still not know the meaning of the word or how to use it. But with 3x3 vocabulary, you're going to see what their thinking is as it relates to how one word might connect to another.
Classroom YouTube pages. So this is a great way to get kids working together. Again, preparing kids for the world that they're walking into. You can do it once a week, you can do it every 2 weeks, but you're going through, the kids are talking about the things they've learned, and then you can make the link private because obviously we want to protect our kids so it's not out there. But then these are great links that can be shared with parents because now kids can go home and watch with their parents. So you're getting parents involved, you're getting kids working together, involved in the learning process, and it's more relevant and easier than just you sitting and typing a newsletter every week. You're allowing the kids to be productive and to create the page themselves and take ownership and then share with their parents.
I hope you enjoyed hearing all of those different strategies from the Innovative Schools Summit that happened in New York this past year. I hope you learned at least one thing that you can start using in your classroom immediately. I'm so thankful that they let us share all this with you. If you enjoyed this special edition podcast, let us know. Maybe we can do some more in the future. If you liked hearing all of those different strategies and you want to know more about the Innovative Schools Summit, you can hop on over to innovativeschoolsummit.com. At the time of the release of this podcast, the next summits are in Las Vegas and Nashville in July. And there's all the details on the website, and we'll put a link down below if you want to look at, register for that or anything like that. There's a bunch of different people who come to these and present and have all these ideas and provide encouragement and everything for all the things that you guys do, because teaching is hard. We've said that on this podcast before. Teaching is hard and it's difficult, but it's super rewarding when you see your students succeed. So if you enjoyed this, leave a comment. If you didn't, leave a comment so that we know how we can improve. Take some time to follow, subscribe, rate, review, all those different things. That helps us know how to serve you guys best and helps us reach more educators, which is ultimately what we want to do. So I won't take up any more of your time today. I hope you learned something new, and we'll see you on the next Innovative Schools podcast.